Hey, this is Brandon with Seattle Coffee Gear. I'm here today with the Rancilio Classe 9 Xcelsius. That word Xcelsius actually means something. So Rancilio has Class 9 machines, typical heat exchange machines. The Xcelsius is actually a different machine altogether. So though it keeps its name of Class 9, the Xcelsius introduces a individual coffee boiler at each group head. So it's really their first foray into the third wave coffee temperature profiling machines. And it's actually a really cool machine. They've done a lot of work on it, really make it nice. What they've done on this machine, so you've got your normal stuff inside, a 16-liter boiler that's in there. It's still going to do a heat exchange to actually put the water up into the coffee boiler. They've put in, though, a very micro coffee boiler, so it's really, really small, and they're calling it just a finishing boiler. The concept behind it is we want to interject water up there, roughly about 190 degrees or so, and then we're going to use a 250 watt heating element inside of there to change that temperature. So whether we need to bring it up, whether we need to flatten it out. What they've done actually that's different on this machine is they run a cold water source into that boiler as well. So now what this allows us to do is actually bend the temperature up or down. If we have the boiler temperature at 203 degrees and we want to bring it down to 198 throughout the process of that extraction, we can actually interject cold water into it and accomplish that, whereas you're not going to see that in any other machine. As it goes, basically each group head, if it's a 2-group machine, 3-group or 4-group, would have its own individual boiler, and each one would be 250 watts. So basically, this little button right here is really what makes it the Xcelsius. If you took that away, this is what a Class 9 would look like. We add this in, and now we have the Xcelsius controls. We're going to have a little LED screen over here that's going to tell me kind of what's going on, and all of your programming is going to be handled through this and through these buttons. When you want to get into Xcelsius mode, there's that little X that's sideways. You're going to hold that button down, give or take about 5 seconds or so. And eventually it's going to click out of there and turn into saying the words Group 1. Now the way you do any programming on a Rancilio machine is directly through here. So what we have is a plus, a minus, a select, and a back. And if you want to, you can take a look right down here and they actually tell you that. So if you ever forget and you don't want to watch the video again, it tells you plus, minus, enter, escape. So now that we have this up here, if I were to do a plus, take me to group 2, plus group 3, group 4, but you can see it's a 2-group, so it just says not available. Let's get back into our single group, and now I'm going to select this. There's a couple of different profiles this allows you to do, and this gets back to what I was talking about on the cold water coming in. You're able to do what's called a flat profile, which all that means is I just have one temperature. So start temperature of 200, finishing temperature would be 200. It's not available to do. Now, if I want to profile it, I can click on this and I can see my options. So that's flat. I can profile up or I can profile down. And what that basically means, let's say I'm starting at 200 degrees and throughout that 30-second extraction, I want to finish it at 198. I would profile it down, so 200 to 198. Flip side of that is if I wanted to increase in temperature, let's say I'm starting at 198 and I want to finish at 203, I would profile that up from 198 to 203. Basically, all you have to do is, let's go ahead and select up real quick, hit enter. Now I can go back, start temperature. I want to take that down, let's take it down to 198. So now we're at 198 right there, and you can see the temperature 2, which would be my finishing temperature. If I hit OK, now I go to final temperature, and we're going to take that up to 203. So what this is telling me is my shot is going to start its extraction at 198 degrees. It's going to end its extraction at 203 degrees. If I hit that, that takes me out. A couple times for that, it takes me right back. What's nice about this machine is if you forget where it's at, you don't have to get into that whole programming mode. If you just hold this for about 3 seconds, you'll see this pop up, and you can see the temperature inside that boiler and what it's doing. If you look right there, there's an up arrow next to group 1 and a down arrow next to group 2. It goes away in about 5 or 6 seconds, so you kind of have to do that. But what this is telling me is 198 profiling up to 203. This one is 201, and it's going to profile down to 199. That way, if you ever forget it, you want to know what's going on, maybe someone changed it on you, you can quickly access that without having to go into the full menu. So once we get past all that, it's a very typical machine. It comes as a volumetric option. This particular machine is in what's called the tall configuration, but it does come in a short and tall. If it's in your tall, you have these little trays right here that'll slide out, allowing you to just put a shot glass underneath it. Slide that underneath it, you can stick a big 16-ounce paper cup underneath there as well. Another cool feature about this machine is it actually allows you to shut off each individual group head. So if you want to save energy at the end of the night, don't want that power, that heating element running all night, all you do is come to this Xcelsius model and you see the power button. Go ahead and hold on to that. As I'm holding on to it, you're going to see right here, it tells me what groups are on. Right now, both are on. Continue holding, and it's going to ask you which one you want to shut off. So if I want to shut off this group right there, hit that button, you're going to see that light disappear. So now I know that group head is off. Heating elements not on there. You're not going to be able to really use it right now. This one's still on. To get out of that mode, I'm just going to hit this. It's going to take me right back. Now I can run this one here. This one's still off. It's not going to be at temperature. If I want to bring this back on, any button will turn it back on and activate it. Now you'll see it come back onto green and blue once it's ready to go. The other options you're going to get with this machine, it comes standard with what's called their C lever, which allows you basically to push it down or pull it up if you want to lock it in place. You're going to have that on both sides as well. It does come standard with regular steam arms on there, but they do allow the option to upgrade it to a no burn, so I could remove this and not burn myself basically. And then other than that, it's your standard volumetric machine. I've got two T buttons right over here for hot water. There is a hot water economizer in it, so if I want to set that temperature to whatever, 198 or 200 degrees, I can actually get that, and that's accomplished by putting hot and cold water, again, in here. If you want to get into any type of programming on this, right through this continuous button, basically, you're going to hit that, hold that for 10 seconds, and that's going to take me into my volumetric buttons, and now I can go inside and actually program anything. So if I wanted to change this right there, you're going to see that count going up. Hit it, it's now reprogrammed for that particular volume. And now you'll hit that and you'll see it's just gonna run for just a couple seconds and kick off like that. This is really meant for either higher volume cafes. It's made for people trying to do some of this third wave coffee, single origin coffees. If you really like to play with it, get like a Sumatran or an Ethiopian and really play with changing that temperature and pulling different characteristics out of your coffee, this is the machine for you. If you're just a standard cafe, you would get down to the regular Class 9 line, which is a typical heat exchange machine. Other than that, though, it's a great machine. Temperature stability is probably the best that's on the market right now, and really it's the highest end machine that Rancilio has to offer for a commercial setting. And if you'd like to learn more about it, please go to SeattleCoffeeGear.com.